Hey, what's up, Thad? How's it going?
What's up, Brandon? You doing all right today?
Yeah, I'm good. Good. It's a nice rainy morning here on Long Island.
Oh, I hear you. We got the rain the past couple of days, but so far today is uh, sky's clear, but it's just humid now.
Yeah, it's yeah, it was ultra humid here the past couple days, and I'm so thankful that a bunch of rain just came in because it was like, yeah, it gets crazy here with the humidity.
Yeah, I've never been that far up. Well, you mentioned. Let's back up a second. Where, tell us where we can find you online, where you're at, and go ahead and introduce yourself before we really get going here.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I know the weather is terribly interesting, but yeah, so my name is Brandon Feeley. I You can find me online at Beluga Brando, Beluga as in the whale, on Instagram. I believe I don't have too much on YouTube. It's just like a couple pedal demos I did. But you can find me, I believe, just under Brandon Feely on YouTube. And other than that, I'm kind of a ghost online. I don't really have too many too many outlets. Um, I guess on Bandcamp you could find my duo work with Ora, and under Beluga Brando on Bandcamp as well for my solo work.
Awesome, awesome. So, how long have you been making music, and what got you started with it? Like, what age?
Um, Honestly, I guess my interest in music started pretty young. I come from like a pretty musical family. My dad he's like in his early 70s now, but he's played the bass since like I don't even know, probably since like the 60s. I mean, when he was like a teenager. He grew up playing in like rock bands and stuff, and um, it's yeah. Then after that, I basically watched him like my whole life play bass in church as well. He's always played bass in church. That was a core childhood memory. But
Hmm.
and even just like when I was a kid, my childhood bedroom was right on the other side of his office on the second floor of my house, and he would always practice bass at night. So like I
Nice.
so like as I was falling asleep, he wouldn't be like blasting it, but it would be like loud enough that you kind of hear what he's playing. So that's always been something I kind of like attributed to like knowing how to play bass, because like I kind of got used to hearing how like things were phrased and like played and stuff. Um, just from like all that all those years of passive listening. Um, but yeah, other than that, my older sister, she's always been like, it's always been a kind of like a side interest for her, but she was like really good at the violin in high school. And then one of my brothers actually minored in upright bass jazz performance when he went to college. So he's actually like a really talented bassist. I don't know if he plays too much anymore, but at the time he was like just shredding like jazz bass, no problem.
Awesome.
that's
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 cool.
never been a genre I've been like especially good at. But but yeah, so that's kind of like how I got interested in it. Is it was just kind of always around me. Um, and then, but my first instrument was actually the bass, though. Not surprisingly, after
Yeah,
you just heard
yeah.
that stuff. Because my hands were actually at the time, like my hands were actually too small to like play a regular size guitar.
Right.
So I ended up picking up the bass because I was like, oh, you only have to like hit one note. Like, how hard could this be?
Right.
Um, so I've actually been playing the bass like a lot longer than guitar, but it's kind of where that came from. Um, and then I didn't pick up. I picked up acoustic maybe around like um, age 15 or 16, like around there. Um, just listening to, I don't know, I just kind of got really inspired by people like, like Bob Dylan, like Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, just a lot of that older,
Right.
um, great acoustic music that came out of like the 60s and 70s. Um, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't seem too bad. Like, you could probably like, pick some of this up, like learn a song here and there. It escalates over time.
Right.
But and then I ended up getting my first electric guitar for uh, my high school graduation, which is still the guitar I play today. Just because I just like how it feels, so, and sounds and stuff. So I just, there's no reason to like
If it ain't broke,
throw it
don't
out.
fix it. Right.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Is that the
It's
Gretsch?
just, yeah, that's the Gretsch. It's just like, I don't know. It's just a comfy guitar to play on. It's like,
Well, it's easy on the
is
eyes
it?
too.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the reason I originally got that model actually was because I was a really big Jack White fan.
Hmm.
And he's one of the main reasons why I even like kind of got into electric guitar. I just thought the way he like used the instrument was really cool, with like the sounds he got and stuff.
Yeah.
But I saw him playing with one of his bands after the White Stripes, called the Raconteurs, um, and he had this like double cutaway Gretsch, um, that it turns out his is like a custom made one and stuff. It's not like actually from Gretsch, but it's like the same, like look. He just had it,
Yeah.
modeled after it. And I was like, wow, that guitar is sick. Like, I wonder if they like have one basically just like it, and they did. So,
Nice.
so I basically got it based purely off of looks. I've like heard Gretches before and kind of generally knew how they sounded. I never loved like I know this is like a super hot take, but like I never loved like Stratocasters or like Les Pauls or just like the more traditional like guitar body styles. But
Why is
don't
that?
come at me
Just
for
because it's so common, you think, or you just
I
don't like the
think
aesthetic?
I think I mean Strats. I know this is like I'm like really digging myself deep here, but Strats I actually just don't like the way they sound.
Yeah.
They're just like really. I know you can like thicken them up, but it's like I just never loved like the single coil sound, just because they're kind of thin. But then I never really loved Les Pauls either because I almost feel like they're too round and
Right.
like
Right. Right.
so and like I guess just the sound of the Gretsch like Filtertron pickups, it's kind of like this perfect medium where like you can still cut through the mix, but it's also like a pretty like beefy tone. Um, so I just thought it was like cooler just compared to like the average guitar people tend to play. And like, that's not I'm not like it's all just personal preference. I'm not saying like
Sure.
a Strat never sounded good because like obviously Jimi Hendrix is amazing, but like, it's
No, no, you're
like
fine, dude. I mean, I'm sure the Fender and Gibson fans, they probably turned it off already anyway, so it's all good. You don't have to
yeah,
justify. I'm
yeah,
just,
they're like screw this guy. He has
no,
nothing of
I,
value to say after this.
yeah, I'm just playing. No, but that's so cool though that you kind of dialed in the kind of sound you wanted, and then found an instrument that you like the look of as well. Because that's like the magic combination. Like to me, it's you gotta like the sound, but also like it's gotta be interesting and for you to look at and enjoy to hold and play, or else I don't know. You know what I mean? It just makes the experience so much better.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like if you don't even like the way it looks, you're not even gonna want to touch it. It's like,
Yeah, absolutely.
um, and I haven't really done too much like aesthetic stuff on it. I have done like a little bit of work on it over the years. Like I swapped the tuners out. So there's some nice like open back, like Grover tuners on it. Um, it just kind of like classes it up a little bit,
Yeah.
and I swapped the knob. Like I have like the purple knobs on it,
Hmm.
that I think they're just like aluminum or something, but I got them. They're actually for guitar pedals, but I was like,
Yeah, why
I was
not?
like, I was like, guitar pedals use like basically the same pots as guitars do. So like,
Yeah.
whatever. I should just be able to buy these and just throw them on. And um, and what else did I do? I think that so the pick guard is actually made out of a vinyl record. Um, because I did like the original pick guard, but I just thought it would be like a cool project because I have like a big vinyl collection and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've always just been a fan of how records sound. So I was like, I found it's not to go on like a huge rabbit hole, but like I had this album by, it was like an old 80s like punk album that like wasn't that great, but I really liked the
Yeah.
vinyl. I think it was like a Stranglers record or something. Um, and so I just traced it out, and like my dad helped me like smooth out the edges and stuff with like a little like a router or something.
Yeah.
Um, and then other than that, I did sand down the back of the neck, so I took all like the lacquer off,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that made a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that
um,
that smoother, drier feel of, yeah, I know what you mean.
but yeah, but
That's
yeah,
how punk rock is that to take a punk record and make a pick guard out of it.
yeah. Well, like at the time that, I mean, I know this is like kind of an ambient podcast, but like this, um, I mean, punk music is actually a lot of what got me super into music and like learning about like subgenres of music.
Yeah.
Um, and especially just like hearing, late 70s, early 80s stuff, like just, kind of classic stuff like the Ramones and like the Clash and
Oh yeah. Love
all
that
those
stuff.
kinds of bands. But then even learning about like hardcore punk music, like the Dead Kennedys and like the
Yeah.
Bad Brains and stuff. And like some of those guys were just like killer musicians.
Yeah.
Like um, just and they always played with like a lot of passion, which I think is why I liked it so much, is
Yeah.
because they were just completely throwing themselves at the genre and just becoming like as good as humanly possible at it.
Yeah. And just
um,
embracing it. Yeah.
yeah, and like I really liked that. It's like, you know, um, or even a band like X, which I still like them today. Um, they're just like there's just like some low key, like really, really good punk musicians out there that like people really sleep on them, honestly. But but yeah, that was like a big genre for like inspiration for me. I would say that in like early '90s, like grunge music, I've always been like a big fan of.
Yeah. Definitely. And it's funny how you mentioned it's a kind of an ambient podcast. There's a lot of artists that are do that kind of stuff now, but the conversations we have of music, like it's all over the map, and you're not the first to give kudos to the classic punk bands and just it's just part of our journey. That's what's so fun about uh, talking to my guests is hearing their journey, what the music genres they've enjoyed over the years, and it's pretty cool. How do you feel that punk has helped you shape your sound or your music, or is it just more of an attitude? What's the relation there for you?
Um, I think I would say that probably the big takeaway from it was just the whole like DIY attitude of,
Yeah, for sure.
um, it's like you don't have to spend $1 million to make a record. You could just buy your own recording equipment and like throw it up and just do it all yourself. Like my whole solo record was recorded, aside from like two songs, which was done at somebody's house, which is like basically the same thing.
Yeah,
um, but like my whole solo record was recorded literally in my basement at my parents' house when I lived there. Like I didn't, I just like borrowed a couple mics from Taylor, who's my bandmate in Aura, and just set them up, got like a decent sound going, and just sat there and recorded everything myself, over, a few months. And like that, just I would say that that was probably the biggest long term takeaway was just doing stuff yourself, or even like just making, with because with Aura, like we made because we played locally a little bit for a while, so like we made our own merch and stuff. We like got patches made and like ironed them on ourselves to like flannel shirts and like bleach them and then like sold those. Like it's
Yeah.
just like just like coming
More
up with like
punk stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like cool DIY stuff that like it's I feel like everything, especially with like social media now, like everything is like so like high quality and like overproduced and like perfect. It's like I feel like people like when you can go to a show and like buy a piece of merch that was like made by the band, not like outsourced to like, from somebody else. But it's just like, no, this is stuff we all like custom made just to like sell to people who like us.
Right, exactly. Like literally
um,
made for you, like made by the artist or their group and for the fans. It's much more personal.
yeah. And that's definitely not to like knock like getting t-shirts made and stuff because like we
Oh,
have
sure.
we have we have done that and used like a local vendor just to like support local businesses and stuff. um but
But that's still punk.
just
If you're
yeah, that's
and there's nothing wrong with doing like a bigger, uh, online version or whatever. It's all good. It's all art.
yeah,
But as you mentioned, even reaching out to local folks to help, you're still, it's community, it's helping others that are doing things for themselves, doing it together. I love that stuff.
yeah, for sure. But that's yeah, so that's probably the biggest way that like punk kind of influenced me long term musically. It's like not necessarily the music, but just like kind of the stuff around it.
I want to ask one question real quick while you're still on that. In case someone's wondering, you recorded your first album in the basement. You borrowed a couple mics. So if I remember right, you didn't do vocals, right? Is instrumental?
No, it's
Yeah,
just guitar.
yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Um, so what was your mic setup and your guitar amp pedals, whatever? You don't have to go super in depth, but if someone's curious about, oh wow, it's this easy, like, you know what I'm saying? How'd you do it?
Honestly, my setup is like for some people it would probably be like super whack. Like
You have my attention.
they yeah, like it wasn't a high cost setup like at all. It was I mean, probably the most expensive thing was my computer, which I already had anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but I have like a MacBook Air, which like isn't, ideal, but that's what I was running Logic on. The Apple sells like a bundle where you can get like Logic, Final Cut, and like some other stuff, and it's actually like a really good price. I think there's like a student discount, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I use that for like software. As far as an interface, it's another thing I'm probably gonna get like crap for, but like I just use like a Focusrite like two input interface,
Hey, whatever
like which
works.
is like probably like the bottom end of like interfaces, but I'm like I just want to throw something down real quick. Like I'm not super into like the real high end like recording gear stuff. Like there's other people who do that, but I'm
Right.
like I just don't have the time. I just want something really simple that I can like plug mics into, put it in my computer, and just like hit record.
Yeah.
So I use that for mics. I'm forgetting. I'm honestly forgetting the name of the mic I borrowed. But I had like one. It's like a pretty popular. I want to say it was. I'm completely blanking out on the brand right now, but it was just kind of like a decent like vocal kind of mic. And then the other mic was just like a Shure like SM57,
Yeah.
um, and just standard mic. And so it's just a two mic setup. I basically put in like, and not like, but I put the bigger mic like butt up against the amp, sort of like halfway between the center of the cone and like the edge of the cone.
Gotcha.
And then at the SM57, I think I just did dead on, like dead center,
Yeah.
um, on the other cone. So
The
that
other
was
so
pretty
you
much,
had a two speaker cab or amp?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So my amp is a, it's like so unnecessary, but it's a Fender Blues DeVille from, it's actually from the year I was born, 1994,
Oh,
which
that's
is kind of
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a 212, which is like so unnecessary, but it's you know,
Yeah, but when you want
at
it, you
the
got it, and it's yeah.
yeah, it was honestly a great deal. Like I bought it back in college, probably when I was like 20 or 21. So we're talking like 8 or 9 years ago at this point. Um, and I got it on Reverb for like $500 or something,
Yeah.
and it was completely operational, nothing wrong with it. The only thing is that it had like a little bit of wear and tear on the tweed. Like there's some like stains and stuff. It looks like, I don't know, maybe someone like spilled a beer on it or something like down the side.
Yeah.
But if anything, that just adds to like the mystique. So
Yeah, the
I
mystique and character.
um
Plus, you're not afraid to like really use it. Like it's already
yeah, I know.
imperfect. You know.
I mean, I mean, I'm a big fan of just buying things used in general. Like, I think pretty much my whole pedal board was used except for like that's actually a lie. I did start buying some. No, not it used to be all used like
Yeah.
100%, but um, like over the a few pedals have come out that I bought new because they've just gotten like so hard to get, that when they drop, I just buy one like
Right.
immediately.
Yeah. Cause
Um,
yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes if you don't buy it new, like you just gotta wait a minute.
Yeah, because like some of the smaller, and that's not to knock like the builders like or anything that they don't have enough stock. Like it's just the whole like supply chain issue for builders is like a whole like that could be a whole podcast. But like,
Oh yeah, supply chain,
um,
especially after the pandemic, and then you got so many amazing uh, for lack of a better term, like home builders that they may not
oh
do
yeah,
like mass production, but so yeah, you just got to get it when you can.
yeah, it's like, and which is something. I mean, that's honestly a topic that we can go into a little bit if you want. It's just how
Yeah.
like
Hey, we're
just how
there.
the
Let's do it. Yeah.
I know just how the pedal industry has like changed over the years is like mind-boggling. Like
Yeah.
I remember when I was like in my early, even just the last decade, like when I was like 19 and looking at guitar pedals and stuff, like JHS was like just sort of coming up, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now they're like a gigantic company, and
Right.
like stuff. There definitely wasn't as many like small builders out there. Like it was pretty common for like Dunlop with like the MXR stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
like the carbon copy delay and like stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it was much like guitar pedals, like like I said, like JHS was still like a small-ish brand at the time. Pro Guitar Shop with like Andy's demos was just like
Yeah.
legendary. He was
Yep.
just and uh like Way Huge was like popular at the time. Like I still think they have cool stuff, but I probably wouldn't use it now just because of what's out there. But like at the time, like Way Huge was doing like crazy stuff, like having like a tap tempo like analog delay. Like no one was doing that kind of stuff back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And uh, but then just to see how the industry like grew and progressed, and now it's sort of like there's just this stuff that's not to knock older stuff, but like the stuff that's coming out now is just like so crazy compared to 10 years ago. Like
Yeah. Like if you
I'm
can
like we
imagine it, it's probably out there or someone's working on it. Or they're willing to do it
yeah
if you suggest it. And there's so many builders like I can't even keep up. It's amazing. And
yeah, it's like even like a company like electronic audio experiments, like they
oh
just
yeah.
came out he just came out with like the prismatic wall pedal that like it like mimics like sympathetic tones like in the room. I was like, who thinks of that? Like,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
wild.
just like crazy stuff that like 10 years ago when like we barely had analog tap tempo delays, and now we have that. It's like it's like kind of it's just really funny to like think about how crazy the industry's gotten, or company, or even like Walrus Audio,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like when they came out with like the slow reverb pedal, which I still have. Like that was crazy because there wasn't much like marketing towards like ambient
right,
musicians
right.
or like things made for ambient
Really
artists.
made for that. Yeah,
Obviously there's much crazier reverbs out there now, but like, you know, it's like you just have to kind of appreciate like the sort of like steps along the way for like, wow, how did we get here?
exactly.
um, but it's like now you have companies like Champion Lecky just like making like just completely like mind-boggling stuff. Like talk about pedals I had to jump on really quick. Like when the Swan Hunter came out, I
Yeah.
had to
Dude, if
like
you didn't bring
you
it up,
had
I was gonna ask you about it because I knew your love for that. Yeah,
yeah, I'm just a big, I mean, because I mean, for a while, like, I mean, obviously, the whole like lo-fi kind of sound has, or in like super like warm analog stuff has become much more popular. But when that came out, I was like, wow, like an analog, you know, delay with like a sick. I don't know the whole like pedal science behind it and stuff. Um, but just like a reverb delay pedal that was like really built for just making like weird noises,
yeah, yeah.
um, was, you know, especially from that company, because he it's just like I always have to like remind myself how to work the thing because it's just like it's it's so complex. Um, but yeah, or like what's I'm drawing a blank on the pedal. Um, Oh, the like unusual EAS by Black Skycraft
Yeah, I don't
pedals, which
actually
is
don't know
like
that one. Yeah,
that's the I've had that one. I bought like second. I think that one was like second batch because he was doing like small. He still does pretty small batches, but um, no, yeah, that's a Bit Crush reverb. Um, and it's kind of akin to picture like a dark star, but like on steroids.
yeah,
Like that's kind of, and it just, you know, I always liked the dark star, and like Old Blood makes a lot of cool
yeah.
stuff, but like, my God, I just kind of feel like it's like some things like, I don't know. Just hearing it from other people, I'm like, I don't know if I could like dial that in like quite how I want to.
Right.
Um, but then this came out, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, I definitely need to like pounce on that. So,
Which part was on
um,
steroids, the reverb or the bit crusher?
I think it just they. I think he just added a lot more control,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
over the pedal, because like there was, you know, it's like just the. I really like the reverb, just the bass reverb circuit itself, even without the big crush. I feel like I just like the sound of it more than the Dark Star. Um, like it's just you can just get this really nice, like warm, expansive delay reverb from it.
Yeah.
Um, so even like that's great. Um, and then he also has like modulation in it and stuff, and like a ton of modulation settings that you can like blend in. Like there's just, you know, I feel like there's just more room to like work with the sounds in the pedal. Um, and but you know that's not to knock the Dark Star at all. Like I just feel like I just couldn't really like use it.
I might have to look into that because I do like the Dark Star. I have one. I mean, I don't have a lot of pedals, so I make the most of what I have anyway. But I remember when I first heard the Dark Star when it came out, I was like, okay, that's what I'm looking for. So I got me one of those, and I do like it a lot. But I know what you're saying. There's a little room there for a little more control, or a little more variety on how you can set it up. So that sounds really interesting. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah. Um,
What's one another pedal that really inspired you? Because I know we can love like all of them, but what is a pedal that really inspired and motivated some of your sounds? You know, that really got your creativity moving.
um, so as far as my past stuff, like my last solo record, which was like I'm working on more material now, but I
Oh,
think
cool.
that record came out in like 2022. Um, so at the time, some really core pedals for that were the Red Panda Tensor,
Oh yeah,
um, which like I feel like I'm just always going back to. It's just so it just lends itself like really well to like ambient and experimental music. Just it just adds a lot of interesting like rhythmic points to music. Because it kind of gets it really captures that like randomness well,
yeah, I like that. Yeah,
which is kind of hard to like. It's a little bit hard to find in like certain pedals, like just that random rhythmic aspect.
yeah.
So that's always been like really inspiring to play with. Um, and so aside from that, I would say the hologram dream sequence. I use that a ton um, on my solo record. That was like because you just pull so many different sounds from it. Obviously, it's all kind of the same. Like it's basically like a guitar like synthesizer on board.
Yeah.
um, you can get a lot of really interesting like you can almost use it as like a bass tone and
Okay.
just like add other things on top of it. So it's like instead of just a dry guitar signal, you can kind of just like find a good dream sequence setting and like it also interacts with other pedals like super well. Um, so it's just easy to like blend into stuff. Um, yeah, the I guess other than that, I think the Count to Five Montreal Assembly.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it or hates it.
Yeah. Well, I
um,
know it, and I'd
that
love to try it. I've never had one.
it's I still think it's worth the buy personally.
Yeah.
I know some people like really don't like it and really hate like the interface or the algorithm in it or whatever. And it's like, is it kind of whack? Yes. But like, it's like once you figure out how yours works though, because I know like um, I know how they're made has kind of like changed over the years. So like when I bought mine in like 2020, like I'm sure it's different a little bit than like older ones or ones that are like made now.
Yeah, you're
Um,
reminding me of this now. Back when I did look into them, like there was different versions or yeah, I know what you're saying. I can't. The words are escaping me, but yeah, there's some differences in them.
Yeah, it's all pedal terminology.
Yeah.
I don't get into like the nitty gritty of like all the technical stuff too much, honestly. But yeah, like because it was just that it was that kind of pedal that just kind of sat on my board for a while, and like I would try and use it like here and there, and like couldn't really find anything to like do with it. But
Yeah.
I'm like I know I can use this, just not right now. Like
Right.
so I I think one day I just sat down because I'm not gonna lie, the manual that's on the Montreal website for it is like useless. Like I could not understand it at all. And that's like no offense to the guy who makes them, but like it's just so beyond me. I was like, I need something else. So I
Oh,
went
so it was
to
almost like too good, like the technical,
no, it just wasn't really like clear
or not
enough.
in depth. Oh, gotcha.
I'm like I still don't understand what these settings do though. Like
Gotcha.
what
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, but what does the pedal do?
Yeah.
So so I went to the internet's resource of information, also known as Reddit,
Yeah.
um, and I found basically just fans of the pedal. I guess somebody at some point put together an unofficial user manual, and that has like kind of circulated online for it. And this is it's just like such guitar nerd stuff. But like so I found like a fan made manual that like explained everything way better. And I was like, and I was reading through it. I'm like, oh, like that's what, like, okay, like it made me understand like each mode a lot, much clearer. Um, and I was like, so I played around with it, and I was like, and I found this setting. I haven't used it on recordings yet, but I found this one setting that I'm like, this is basically like Frippertronics. Like this is nuts.
That is so cool. Yeah.
Um, so I was like, this is like the stuff like Robert Fripp was doing back when with like his solo work and like Fripp and Eno and stuff. I'm like, this is awesome.
I'd
But
love to hear you do something with that, even if you
I
just
know
share a post or something. That sounds
I
really cool.
I think I've definitely posted stuff on Instagram using that setting. I would have to like find the post, but I haven't. I do really want to record with it somehow. I just like, it's that kind of thing where like I don't want to do it until I could really express something that's like kind of like original with it, because
Right.
it's such a familiar sound to like ambient guitar fans that it's like I don't want to just be like, oh, this guy's just trying to be Robert Fripp, like, you know. But yeah, so that's the whole like Countify rabbit hole. And yeah, I would say for the last record, those three pedals were like pretty uh were the pretty like instrumental ones that like stick out to me at least.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's one thing I love about guitar pedals, and I kind of jump around from guitar to like I'm really into synth right now, but and I play bass a little bit, but always just love the guitar pedals because you can swap one out real fast and you're in a new territory, and it's so good to just spark that creativity or enthusiasm to play.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um yeah, like I just changed pretty much like my not my whole board setup, but like I kind of condensed it down. Just because of like the new material I'm working on. I just wanted to like focus on like certain sounds more and like have
Right.
it, kind of just have like less available to me, so I'm not like crippled by like what guitar pedal am I going to use for this, but like how is
Option
this like,
paralysis. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like I just want to focus more on like the compositions and like how you know the pedals can like add to it or like more fully express the ideas. Um,
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good approach because there's different ways like that. You're focusing on the music and then using the pedals to enhance that, and the other end of the spectrum, which I'm sure you've done too, is just like a wild signal chain and playing to the pedals. Like, what do these things do?
oh yeah, I definitely do some of that too.
Yeah.
But honestly, a lot of my it sounds kind of funny, but like a lot of my writing actually happens on acoustic. Weirdly enough, but like obviously I write ambient music, but or like experimental or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But a lot of like the little ideas that I get for songs like comes from just like sitting with an acoustic or like during while I'm like practicing or something. I'll play something and be like, oh, that's like kind of cool, I should like move that over to electric later.
Yeah.
um but some stuff does come from like just playing around with pedals, but I would say like a good chunk of it happens acoustically also.
Do you find yourself grabbing the acoustic just out of convenience because you can pick it up and go right away, or do you just really just love playing it and try to write on it?
I honestly just love playing acoustic. I mean, just for like some more, I guess, musical background, I took guitar lessons for pretty much almost every week for like a year straight. I would say, I think when I was like 22, with a friend of my sister's who happened to be like an amazing bluegrass guitarist.
Okay, now I
um,
see where it's coming together because I've seen you do some
yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, I used to post some like bluegrass stuff. Nothing even close to what some people could play, but like, excuse me. Yeah, that's kind of how I got into that genre because I basically the guy like invited me over one day and was like, "Hey, like, why don't we jam? Like, I'm local." He went away to school for a while, but he was working. He was actually working at Diodario Strings here because that they're word based. It's based on Long Island. Um, so he, he was working there and like making some content for them, just like testing strings and stuff. And he was like, yeah, come over and jam. And like, I heard him play and like saw his technique and stuff. And I was like, I don't know what you're doing, but can you teach that to me? Like,
Was he like
I'm
doing
like,
finger style,
he was
finger
doing,
picking?
he was doing flat picking,
Okay.
um, which is like, just the kind of standard like bluegrass guitar picking technique. And just showing me some like bluegrass like fiddle tunes and stuff on acoustic, and I was just like, that is sick. I want to do that.
Yeah, it is
um,
wild. It's like some great musicianship. Those really good bluegrass players. It's I ain't gonna lie. I'll
yeah,
listen to a little bluegrass sometimes. I guess that's
yeah,
not
it's like,
surprising living in Kentucky, but
yeah, I feel like you have to. Like, if you
yeah.
don't, like, what do
Well, it's funny when I
but
first moved here to Kentucky. I think I was 15 or 16, and like before moving here with my family, I was like, Kentucky, like what the hell? Like, it's like just bare feet and banjos, isn't it?
yeah, you're like, this
And
sucks.
I got here and realized no, it's actually just a pretty normal place, but there is a lot of that bluegrass culture and a lot of you know good stuff like that. So
Yeah, and it's just like a cool genre. I mean, aside from like uh, learning, obviously, like you have to have like crazy technique to play. Like, I had basically had to relearn how to play guitar, to be honest.
yeah, yeah, it's wild.
because like because it's like my picking hand had to be totally different. I had to learn new ways to like navigate the fretboard. um your basics have to be like really really down pat. um or just, there's just a lot that went into it. It was super worth it because it comes out in my playing now like all the time. But um
Now, have
but
you
no, I just
tried?
thought,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, have you tried bluegrass through some pedals? Have you tried to weird it up like that?
No, it's kind of like a, I don't want to call it like a purist genre, but like it's, there's people like Billy Strings who have kind of experimented with more stuff like that and playing bluegrass with like a synth guitar and, like kind of like doing some
Yeah,
cool stuff like that. But no, I honestly kind of just prefer like the straight, just acoustic, you know,
gotcha.
um, stuff. How,
Nothing wrong with that.
just how,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just like a style preference. But like listening to it and stuff, I just like that there's less going on, because
yeah.
like the
The melody is the star. Yeah,
yeah, it's just very simple. It just requires a lot of like attention to like dynamics, like what other people are doing if you're playing with someone else, like, um, and yeah, just the big technique focus was probably the long term benefit of it for me because like, um, yeah, it's just helped. It's poured over into the other stuff I play like a lot. Um,
right, right.
and just being able to like do certain things and like cross pick things that I probably wouldn't be able to, and like, um, just the way my hands are able to like move around the fretboard. It just really gives you a lot of like control over the instrument. Because if you're out of control playing bluegrass, like, you're just not you're just not going to make it through a song. Like,
Right.
um, but uh, but yeah, and like even just the very like oral tradition of it, like it's not a genre that's been like heavily like written down necessarily. by a lot of people. Like even some of the like pretty much all the fiddle tunes that my teacher taught me on guitar, it was just like a video. Like there was no sheet music.
Right, right.
um, or like sometimes, towards the end of my lessons, he would sit down and be like, "All right, well, I'm going to teach you this tune right now, and you can't take a video of it. So just like have it down for next week." And I'm like, what? And I could still
Yeah.
play it, so it worked. But like,
Good, yeah.
it was, it's just kind of that challenge of like, stop, just use your ears and like don't rely on like technology.
Right,
Um,
right.
so anyway, that's like that rabbit hole. I don't know if you wanted to go there, but you did.
Oh
Uh,
man, I love rabbits. Yep, I go down all the rabbit holes. I like how you pointed out that the technique and abilities and the way you can use your hands, like all the things you learn studying bluegrass, doesn't keep you in bluegrass. If you don't want to be there, you can use all those tools in your skill set now in whatever you want to play. I think it's a good thing for people to remember. Like when you learn little techniques and tricks that are heavy in a certain genre, like it just gives you more tools to create with, no matter what you want to do.
oh yeah, it's it's. I think on that same note too, like it's kind of the same way people view like music theory.
Mm,
Like, oh, I can't learn too much, or like I'm not gonna be, or it's not gonna be like natural anymore.
right.
And that's not necessarily true. It's like, our I think it's good just like to understand like what you're playing. Even if you're just playing something like whack, you kind of know you at least know kind of like what's in key, what's out of key, like how you can utilize like out of key things, or like, blue notes to like make things more interesting. Um, but uh, but yeah, like that's the whole like technique theory conversation. I feel like is very like, um, I feel like people make it very. Uh, I guess I can't think of the
Are we
can't think of the
talking
word right
about
now.
the Fender and Gibson guys again, or?
Yeah, probably. But like I feel, but like I feel like sometimes people can make it very like, mutually exclusive.
Right, right.
Like, oh, I can't be fully like naturally creative if I learn theory or I learn technique, because it's like they almost act like it's like taking away a part of themselves
Right,
that
right.
wouldn't come out if they learned like further theory or technique.
Like music theory
And
isn't a box you're building around yourself.
yeah, it's
Right.
like, yeah, the whole point of learning theory and technique especially is so you can more fully express who you are as a musician, not so you can limit yourself. It's like I can, uh, like even with, especially with technique, I think of who I was as a guitarist before and after learning technique, and I'm like, I could probably, before I was probably expressing like a 20th of who I am as a musician, like, because it just gives you the tools to like
Yeah.
do so much more, like just kind of like freely just flow around the guitar a lot better. And I'm not saying people who don't learn theory or technique like suck, because there's certainly guitarists who like have terrible technique who are amazing guitarists.
Well, I
If you look
appreciate
at
that because I barely know anything about music, about
well,
theory and
like
technique, other than just the
well, like
things I've taught myself. Yeah,
yeah, and like that's fine. Like a lot of people don't. It's just it's not like a right or wrong thing. It's just that I have kind of preferred to like just do it a certain way over the years.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and but I think of a guitarist like Nels Klein, who's like an amazing. He just writes like crazy. Aside from like his experimental stuff, like he's playing like crazy jazz stuff, and like just he's got an amazing mind for like how pedals work and like routing and stuff. Um, and his technique is awful, to be honest. Like if you watch Nels Cline play, like his technique is like not good, but it doesn't really matter because it's just how he plays as a musician. It's
I'm gonna send him this clip and get him on the next episode for a response.
dude, if you could hook me up with Nels Cline,
I'm just,
I'd be pumped. He's like
oh, I have
he's
no
one,
idea if I could
you
do that.
know.
I'm just joking.
Yeah. But like on the other hand, though, you have a guitarist like Julian Lage, who's like might be technically speaking the best guitarist alive right now, and he's basically the closest thing I think to like perfect technique, and like, which I'm sure he wouldn't say that about himself, but like
Right.
you know it's like both of those guys are amazing guitarists and have even done projects like together. Um, and they come from two completely different places. It's like one was very highly trained and probably went to like Juilliard or something, and then the other one was very much not.
Yeah.
um,
I'm glad you mentioned
so
that those and that the difference there because there's room for everybody and it doesn't really matter like you said it's not right or wrong. It's you just got to do what works for you and get to doing it. Like for me,
yeah,
the way I look at it is, uh, I see the. I mean, from my limited understanding, I see the value of music theory. I'm interested in it to a point, but it music theory ain't going nowhere. When I'm ready to really study in that way, I'll do that. You know what I mean? That's just where I
oh
am with
yeah,
it.
yeah, and like I don't even know a terrible amount, to be honest. I'm like, it's not like I'm not like reading like jazz theory books in my spare time. Like
Yeah,
that's not, I basically know enough to be able to know what I'm doing or kind of figure out what I did after the fact.
yeah,
But I'm not like, when I write something, I'm not thinking like, oh, how does this like theoretically tie together? It's more of just like, it's like, oh, I did this, which means I could also do dot dot dot,
right,
and
right.
it's kind of just like I guess you can use it as like a way to like figure things out if it's in like a certain key. Um, but a lot of my writing though is very like, I guess it's very like visceral. It doesn't really come from like a super theoretical place. It's just like I'll usually write something and be like, oh, that's that. I'm doing this, and like it's in that key. So like I might develop it a little bit that way, but that's pretty much it.
Kind of decide on a general map and then just explore within that kind of.
Yeah, it's like getting a map to like a national park. It's like there's a
Right.
lot of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you can like it's this you just know the general lay of the land, but you're not limited to like do certain things necessarily.
Well, I love national parks, so I like that analogy.
Yeah. um,
So
but
you said
yeah,
you're
go ahead.
working on some new stuff. Excuse me, some new solo stuff. Do you still do stuff with Aura?
Not really at the moment. It's honestly just more of like a busyness thing.
Yeah.
It's just hard to get together sometimes. Like
Oh, I get it, man.
to it's like it's Taylor's ultra busy with his church and everything, and I think we're both trying to finish our education. Like I'm working on my master's and stuff. I'm
That's
married,
awesome,
so like
dude. Yeah.
there's just the normal like
Yeah,
normal like married people like upkeep things you have
dude,
to
I
do during the
understand.
week and
I'm married
stuff.
and have a child at home, so up the ante
Yeah.
there. Maybe one day you'll be in that boat. Yeah. It just life
Yeah,
has a
no.
lot of demands. So
Yeah, so I think just doing solo work, it's almost more just out of like convenience at this point.
yeah.
And it just allows me to like sit down with the guitar, just develop some ideas here and there for like a half hour, an hour, and it's not like too bad.
Right. Right. Yeah, I remember. I'm gonna share this funny story when I met you and Taylor. and it was funny because you guys are up there in New York or close to New York City, right? Where'd you say?
We're actually we're not super close to the city. We're probably like um, we're like kind of in the middle of Long Island, so we're probably
Long
like
Island.
a
That's
little,
yeah.
yeah, we're probably like a little over an hour like east of the city.
It was funny because when I soon after, I think I had known you, but then I met Taylor just online, and come to find out, like, I'm in Kentucky, you guys are up there in Long Island. I have a younger sister. They got married and moved to New York, and I just mentioned it in passing in conversation to Taylor, I think. And he freaking sent me a picture of my brother-in-law. He knew them. Like, what are the odds of that? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just wild.
that's yeah, that stuff is always like crazy when you have like connections like across the country, and you're like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
because my sister and her husband, they work in the church field too, and like, I guess that's how they met. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is unreal. Like,
yeah, yeah, I love stuff like that.
well, what do you got
Um,
going on for your the stuff you're working on now? Like your setup for that? Are you doing multiple instruments, or is it more like a solo guitar album?
yeah,
What's the direction?
um, so it's honestly a lot of the material is still like very early on. There's maybe like three or four ideas that I'm kind of jazzed about that I'm like working on.
Cool.
Um, but is as far as the setup, I think I'll probably be layering tracks more, um, and just make it more of like a purely like studio record. Because for my first album, I played, with the exception of like I think two like loops that I recorded. Like the whole album was actually done live,
Yeah.
so I just like each song I just played right through it, and like that was the track. Like I didn't do any overdubs or anything. Um, and I think it was a nice challenge, but I probably wouldn't do it again just because, not
Yeah.
because it came out bad, but it's just like I just want the freedom to be able to integrate some more like ideas and stuff that I probably wouldn't be able to do if I had to play like straight through something.
Exactly.
Um,
I can't remember where I heard that recently, but um, yeah, I heard someone say it's like some people say, "Oh, you can't even play that live." Well, that's kind of the point of like if you go in the studio and make an album, you can do all of these things you couldn't do playing live, So why not, Now,
yeah, and like I mean, also like who cares? Because I mean,
yeah, it's about enjoying the
you know,
music. That's the
um,
end goal, enjoying the music
yeah,
for the
because if you
listeners,
look at it's like if you look at someone like an ambient artist like Taylor Dupree, for example,
Yeah,
amazing ambient musician. Just like make just the sounds he gets and the textures. It's just like it's so good. He was probably one of my biggest like early inspirations for like ambient music.
nice.
But yeah, he like barely ever plays live, and like nobody cares. Like he'll he'll play live like here and there, but that's definitely not like he actually lives in New York too. He's like upstate somewhere.
Okay.
Um, but I think he played live recently with like a few other people in because I think he wrote some kind of like I don't want to call it like neoclassical stuff. Like it was still like ambient, but it was kind of arranged for like classical instruments.
Gotcha.
So he performed that recently, but like other than that, he probably plays like two gigs a year if that. Like
That's
he's not.
two more than I play. So
Yeah, he's very much like a studio guy and does mastering and stuff and is like really good at what he does. And like I don't hear anyone like complaining about like how he doesn't play live enough. I'm like, he's got such an amazing catalog. It's like, who even cares?
I think you mentioned
Um,
the key right there is like he's doing what he's good at and what he loves. Like that's the key to really a good full expression of what you're doing is like find the thing you enjoy. Don't try to play to what you think people want.
yeah, and and honestly, playing live is incredibly overrated at a certain point. Like having done it maybe whatever, like 5 or 6 times with Aura, like it's
Yeah.
you really do it because like it's more of like a passion thing, but like it's a ton of work. It's a lot of coordination. You basically, with the amount of gear you have, depending on how much you have, it's like it kind of feels like moving, but then like
Yeah.
you have
It's
to
kind of
like
like work.
you have
Hmm.
you basically have to like move somewhere, set everything up, and then move back. It's like not,
Yeah. I mean, I
especially
haven't
if
done
the
it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough scene. But like we played a gig in the city and we couldn't even unload in front of the place. We had to park like around the block. So
Yeah.
like, we had to like haul like amps, pedal boards, like uh like keyboard stands, like all you probably have to make like 5 trips to the car.
And you're only talking about like the work involved. Like depending on where you're at, you may be concerned about the security of your gear and your vehicle. Like there's
Yeah, it's just there's just a lot, and people's gear gets stolen all the time.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's risky. Like you don't really you're probably not going to get paid that much because like if you don't have a big live following, like if you're not pulling people to the shows, you could be walking away with like
Right.
$20.
Right.
It's like
Like you're
so I
yeah.
think like people who don't play out live sometimes don't take that kind of stuff into consideration of like how big of an inconvenience and cost it is to the artist to actually play a show.
Yeah.
um but that's like a whole nother like rabbit trail. But um but no, yeah, it's yeah, like I said, it really like I don't think it really matters if an artist like plays live or not ever. Like if you have, like like me and Taylor have talked about or just being like a studio project
Yeah.
and like just doing studio stuff. It's like if the right thing comes up, like yeah, we'll play live, but like we're not like knocking down the doors of venues like trying to get gigs.
Well, that might be a good approach then, considering, like you said, you guys are busy anyway. Because some of your studio work you can do separately or remotely, and then get together when you can, and like,
Yeah,
and just put your focus on the creativity more than uh, moving in and out of a club on the weekend.
yeah. Um, and actually, while we're kind of on the topic of like studio work,
Yeah.
I do want to give a shout out to someone. I know this is like a super random plug, but
No, it's not actually.
um,
Go ahead.
but well, actually, I think he was on the. I think you might have recorded the show with him like a
That's
few
why I
weeks
was
ago or
saying it's
something.
not random.
But
I think I know what you're about to say.
um, but no, yeah, honestly, a big part of my solo work coming together was meeting him online, but meeting Austin Joy, who did all of my like production work,
Yeah.
as far as like the mixing and mastering and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was honestly just like I just randomly found him on Instagram, kind of when I first like started my guitar page and stuff. Um, I kind of had the idea that it was eventually going to turn into like a record, and it's finding someone who really like understands how to mix ambient music can be kind of tough because
Yeah.
like nobody does it.
Yeah.
Like it's a real like niche
Yeah,
that
it's not a
not
mainstream pop variety of art.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like you can't produce it in the same way that you produce like a rock album. Like it's just um and I didn't want it to come across like super like overproduced and stuff. um so anyway, like I met Austin. I heard
Air for
some of
Effect on Instagram.
yeah, at Air for Effect,
Yeah.
on Instagram. um but although he also puts out, because he puts out music under Air for Effect,
Yeah.
but also
Yeah.
like neoclassical kind of stuff under his actual name, Austin Joy.
Yeah.
Um, and that all that stuff is like really cool too. Um,
And you're right.
but
I didn't at the time of this conversation, it'll be the next episode coming out, but yeah, he did an episode for me. So, yep, he's coming up. I didn't mean to cut you off. But yeah, I want to tell you, you were right about that. He did a conversation with me. Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, he's honestly just like, not to like overplug him, but like no, he's honestly just like, like him and his wife are just like great people, to begin with. My wife and I actually visited him like last year because we went on like a mini vacation to Connecticut, and
Yeah.
he lives like maybe like a half hour away from where we were staying. Um, so it was great to like actually
So you met
have
your
like
wife when you went to visit him? Is that what you said?
no,
Oh,
no,
oh,
no, my wife and I were just on vacation up there.
oh. Okay.
Went to, yeah,
Okay.
we had dinner with like him and his wife, and like they were
Gotcha.
awesome. But um, but yeah, he was just really, it was just great to be able to work with someone, like kind of doing the production work on the album that understood the music. Um,
Yeah.
like that's like super underrated.
No,
It's like,
yeah, I know what you
you
mean.
know, it's like he like kind of like, he understood like really well that like you can't, when you overproduce ambient music, it just becomes this like sterile blob.
Yeah.
And it can just be really, the production can like really ruin it. Um, Even if it's like a great album, like if it's the wrong production, you know. And it's also just good to have like an objective, like, second party, I guess,
Yeah.
to like listen to things and be like, yeah, maybe we should like cut this here, or like, oh, this might sound good this way. Like, what do you think? And just, because I'm already so close to the music itself. Like, I'm like, there's no way, like, I don't even have the skills to mix and master it, let alone like, I'd be so close to the music, like I
Yeah.
couldn't see it objectively anymore.
Right. I know what you're saying.
Um,
You almost need the
so
outside perspective as a
yeah,
for check and
so
balance, like yeah.
yeah, so he did like a really great job with the whole record. And I mean, he's definitely going to do my next one too, but I don't know when that's going to be. Um, but yeah, that's like, because I don't know. I feel like there's also like kind of uh, I feel like some people kind of have like an attitude around having good like mixing and mastering with like ambient music or like kind of alternative like genres like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I want it to seem like, it's like I get people want it to come across like super like DIY and like hardcore, and I did everything myself. But at it's like at a certain point, like it's just gonna, like, why wouldn't you want it just to sound better?
Yeah. Yeah.
you
For
know
sure.
and just give it to like someone who really specializes in like making things sound like the best way that they can. um and so that was like, uh that was kind of like the big drive behind like getting someone else to do it. Thankfully Austin's just like an awesome person too to like work with. um he was like, he was just super encouraging like the whole process. Like, it just makes himself a very easy person to work with. And it's good to like, it's good to get some feedback on the music too, like during that whole process.
Yeah.
Because like by the time I recorded this stuff, like I can get tired of things like really quickly musically. So, which is something I'm working on. It's a personal issue, but
Yeah.
like, but I like by the time I record it, like sometimes I could just be like, man, I'm so done with this track. Like I just want to get it, like I just want to record it and like have it like be over.
Right.
you
Right.
know? So just having you give me feedback, like, wow, this is a really cool track, or like this is a cool idea that you fleshed out here, or like, that kind of helps like keep me going during the whole process of like, oh, okay, this is like actually worth it because like someone likes it.
Yeah. I know what you mean about like when you're just over it. Like sometimes I'll be playing, just for my own enjoyment, and I'll try to get something dialed in that I'm that I want to hear or whatever, and then I'll record it, and then, but then I've listened to it so many times I don't even know if it's good or not. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah,
I can't even tell what the hell's going on. I just got to turn everything
yeah.
off and do something different.
No, really, that's the eternal struggle.
Yeah,
But that's a huge thing for me, especially like if I'm trying to flesh out an idea or something, and I'm just like, I don't know. There's just something that happens with music where like, and I'm sure it happens to like every musician, but like you're trying to flesh out an idea and like you're just sitting there for like a half hour, just like running into a brick wall like over and over again.
yeah.
And you're like, this is just maddening. Um,
A lot of times, what I'll do is if I like something, I'll hit record and keep going. Then I'll listen to it a day or two later. Like, is this still good, or was I just feeling myself right then? Like,
oh no, yeah, no, I definitely do the same thing because
yeah,
sometimes I'll throw something down like a voice memo or something, and go back and listen to it and be like, what was I even thinking? Like,
yeah. I am garbage.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're like, I have never written anything of value in my whole life. That's yeah. um
yeah.
yeah,
No, I
that
definitely relate. I think all musicians go through things like that, or artists in
yeah,
general with what they do.
yeah, definitely. Like I definitely have like a way and I think it's definitely not just me because I know other people I've talked to have felt this way, but like I definitely have like a much worse perception of my music than other people do.
Yeah,
Like not to have like a whole therapy session, but like when even when I put my first record out, you always have those doubts of like, what is this adding to, the like ambient music, like the ocean of like ambient and experimental music
right.
that's out there. Like, is this even original? Are people even going to listen to this?
Right.
You know,
Because you want to do more than just show up. You want to bring something to the table, like,
yeah. And that's something I've always been really passionate about personally, like just as a musician. It's like if I don't feel like I'm saying something original with a track, like I'm just not gonna put it out.
yeah, yeah.
um and like obviously there's influences you could definitely hear like on my first record. Like, I was showing my one friend this song the other day and he's like, oh, this kind of reminds me of like William Basinski, who was one of my big influences.
Hmm.
um, I was like, that's like kind of a compliment though, because like
Yeah,
it's like evoking a certain feeling that this artist was also able to like evoke from that person.
right, right.
Um, so it's not necessarily always a bad thing to be like, oh, this kind of reminds me of this, but it still sounds like you. Like that's,
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's as much as you can really hope for at a
Especially if
certain
it's
point.
especially if it's related to an artist that you admire, and it's it doesn't feel bad to hear that. Oh yeah, I kind of hear that influence there. That's a good feeling to me.
Yeah, definitely. But man, talk about a rabbit hole. I was gonna say influences could just like we go on for days. Um, but I guess I mean one. I mean, actually, well, another shout out I kind of want to give really quick musically
Dude, all the
was
shout outs you want, man.
also to I mean a kind of mutual friend on Instagram, Jeff.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah, Jeff, at Isotherm.
yeah.
I don't think that's how I think you pronounce it is other me, but everyone says Isotherm. But but like he had one record that I was listening to a ton I uh, when I was writing that first album. I just need to pull it. Oh, Whispers of Unsettled Spirits.
Okay.
So that was a solo guitar record, obviously he made or he put out in 2020, and like I was like, wow, this dude's just doing like he's just doing the most right now. Like you know, like the compositions were really good, the sounds were really good. It was like for me as a guitarist, there was just like a lot to like. It's just cool to be able to hear somebody who's like who who makes kind of like adjacent music,
Yeah,
and be able to like draw from that and be like, oh wow, like doing a solo ambient guitar record like isn't super out there because like this guy does it all the time.
and he's good at it.
um,
He's a good musician, and I, his the way his busking that he does is really uh, really motivated me as well. Yeah,
oh
I
yeah,
appreciate what he does.
yeah, he's great to like watch live and stuff. Well, actually, I think it was last. Was that last? No, I think it was 2022. Actually, that was a while ago. But I actually played the gig I played in the city. Actually, Austin and Jeff also played, um, and Jeff opens the show with like just like a crazy solo guitar set. It was just it was just like his ability to like perform and improvise like in the moment is just like he's just so much better at it than I am. It's just really cool to watch. um, but
I have a feeling
but yeah,
he
man.
could do a whole episode on music theory.
Oh, definitely. He talking about like theory heads, like
Yeah.
he's so deep in it, but it's good because like I feel like every community like needs people like that though,
Oh, for sure.
because there's always going to be the people who swing more viscerally without any theory and the people who are super heavy into theory, and it's like I feel like each type of person can benefit from each other in
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
ways.
Definitely.
um but yeah, the way he like navigates the fretboard and like his chord theory is just so beyond me, to be honest.
Yeah, and his jazz influence is it just yeah, he's for listeners if you don't know, go check him out. It's good stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. At isotherm on Instagram. Yeah, it's big. So good. But yeah, was there? I know we kind of just went on like a bunch of random like rabbit holes, but was there anything else specific you wanted to touch on?
Let's see. How about it's something I like to throw at some guests. What about an example of a life obstacle or challenge, whether music related or not, that you had to address and overcome in order to progress with your art?
Wow, that's
You know, that could be
that's a
anything from a broken piece of gear to a, a, a depression, season or whatever,
no, yeah, that's really good. I was just saying wow because I'm like, he was not expecting that.
Surprise.
But no, yeah. I think a personal obstacle. I mean, there's a few that I feel like tie into my music or have tied into my musical life in the past. I think one thing one thing that comes to mind for sure is like perfectionism, um, and like just accepting. Uh, I think part of it is just like having grace on yourself
Yeah.
as not only as a person but also just like as a musician. And because some days it's like I even as a trained guitarist, like some days I pick up the guitar and it's just not happening,
Right. This
like
guitar is not working today.
yeah, like my hands will just be off, or maybe just mentally and just kind of off that day and not really like dialed in, and I'll just be having a practice session and being like, man, this sucks. But
Yeah.
then, but then other days I'll sit down and within the first 5 minutes of practicing, I'll like come up with like a cool idea for the record and be like, oh, that's sick. I need to throw that down really quick. And that's, and just accepting that like, I'm just going to have off days, or I'm going to have days where I can't, I'm not going to be able to develop that idea as well as I thought I could when I sat down. Um,
Yeah.
or like, just like accepting that it's kind of like a mindfulness idea, just like accepting the present and like how you're operating right now, and just being like, yeah, you know what, it's not working today, so I'm just gonna like put the guitar down and come back like tomorrow or the next day or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Um,
really good advice for sure. Because we can be
so
our own
yeah.
worst critics. We often are, as artists, and
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm like
nothing's perfect.
so
Yeah,
yeah, I could be so unnecessarily hard on myself as like an artist. Um, but it's like at the end of the day, I'm like, we're just doing this for fun. No one's making a living off this.
yeah, yeah,
At least that I know. Um, or uh, so it's like, just just like remembering to keep it fun. Because when it starts becoming not fun, that's when you probably have to like take a break. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
even for like a few weeks sometimes. Like there's been periods where um like weirdly enough during COVID, I feel like I like barely played guitar. Like, during like the initial like shutdown and stuff. Like I feel like I just was so disengaged from like practicing and music, and like it's not like I don't feel at all like I like lost ground or anything. I'm like, that was just a period where I wasn't feeling it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna like force myself to like be inspired. Um, you know.
no, that's really good advice, man. For real, it's because there's a like a flow with it. There's a give and take. It's not always on. You know, you might have seasons where you feel like you're always on, but life has cycles. Life has peaks and valleys, and if it's not working for you, don't beat yourself up over it. Just it'll come. Just hang out and wait.
Yeah, and it's like the days that you're feeling really musically inspired and stuff is just flowing, like just take advantage of them and sit down for like 2 hours and just churn out ideas. Like that's because it's like you might have like a week and a half where you're just not feeling it. So that's kind of just been my approach, especially with like this new album, is just like, you know, just to develop the ideas as they come naturally. Like it's like like I was saying, like everyone's got a lot of other just like life stuff going on,
Yeah, absolutely.
and you can't always divert like hours to music every day. So it's like, if I can, great, but that's not a majority of my days during the week.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just thought of something too because you're giving some shout outs, and I just want to give you props because it was somewhere around the pandemic uh, era that I believe that you started a Discord that I was a part of, and that's where I met Austin on that Discord, and that's where I uh, I met a few others, but also I was acquainted with some guys that were on there also and got to know them better. And I just always, really appreciated you taking the time to create that space and just a place to share and encourage each other and get to know one another and ultimately just help artists grow. It's not like you're giving lessons, but just fostering that creative, encouraging space. I just really
Yeah,
love that. And so I wanted to put that out there for anyone else listening. Like, if you have an idea like that, you don't always have to be the creator of the art. Maybe sometimes you might be a creator of a space to hold for artists, even as an artist yourself. So that was just wanted to say thanks for that because that was a really really cool thing. And I know the activity on it has slowed down over the years, and undoubtedly, like you said, just life stuff. People get busy, but that was a special thing, special time, and I carry those relationships with me now.
no, I appreciate that. It's yeah, and that was kind of the whole like heart behind it. Like obviously it's slowed down kind of since like I think it was timely for like what was happening, because like
Yeah,
people were spending, it was kind of during COVID, so like people were spending so much time like online and stuff. Like stuff wasn't, people still weren't really going out too much. Like shows weren't really happening as much, at least locally.
Right.
For so there was just much less like physical connection with
Right.
just people in general.
Yeah, for sure.
and and I was like, all these guys, like we all kind of comment and have interest in each other's posts, so like why don't I just try and put them all in the same place? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like everybody's interacting anyway, so like let's just put everyone in one group, even if we just use it for a while and I don't really use it after that. It's like, you know I felt like it was just a good place for people to like, either just voice ideas, or like people had full on discussions about like fuzz pedal circuits and like, just
Yeah. Yeah.
just a place for like musicians to kind of like nerd out a little bit, because like it's especially, I think guitarists are just like, they need that space to just like be a nerd, that
Yeah.
like
Yeah, for sure.
they're, there's probably not many places or people in their physical life that like will appreciate that like another like weirdo guitarist.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's like
Like my wife does not want to hear about it, but
yeah, no, I don't,
I can
I
be a
don't
nerd with
talk.
other guys about it online. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna sit there and talk to my wife about guitar pedals for an hour. Like it would just be kind of weird. But like,
Yeah.
but it's like, that being said, though, she has been, she's great, because like she's always been really supportive of my musical tastes and stuff, and like kind of like how she put it, she's like, I do not fully understand what you do,
Yeah.
but but she's like, I still want to support you because I know that you love it.
Yeah.
And, you're obviously very talented at it, and just, it's clearly like your thing. So like, I want you to feel like I support you, even though I don't really understand what's going on
Yeah.
here.
That's a
um,
good partner, or a good friend would do something like that. You don't have to get it to support someone.
yeah. And, my wife and I, musically speaking, as far as our tastes, like we could not be more different. Like she's, and I think we each like each other's music to a certain extent. It's like if she throws on like Taylor Swift or something, like I'm not going to be mad about it, but
Right.
like it's,
Yeah.
um, or like if I put on, just like a bluegrass artist, or like a, more rock artist that I like she's not going to be mad about. We kind of know how to like mutually appreciate each other's like tastes and stuff
That's good. It
without,
probably over time it's probably helping you both to expand your ideas of music and what could be interesting.
yeah. And I feel like that's just kind of like being in a relationship too. Is like, not everything needs to be this like super like hard line. Like, no, I only listen to this type of music. So like when I'm around, like we're only gonna do it. Like that's just, it's not
That's
like helpful to
yeah.
like be like that.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it's
um,
selfish too.
yeah. Like I'm like, cool. If she wants to throw on some like pop music, like that's cool. Honestly, I need a break from all the crazy stuff I listen to.
Yeah.
So like having some like, if she puts on like Lizzo or something, or like some other pop artist, like I'm not gonna, honestly, some modern pop music is like really good. So
Well, I was
like
gonna
I
ask
don't
you.
know.
I was gonna ask you with that dynamic in your home. Has she played anything that? Has there been an instance where you've heard something she played that kind of sparked an idea for you, or motivated you musically, even though it was from outside of your general circle of listening?
um I would not like, I don't know if there would be anything that has really affected like my like ambient music that I write.
Well, that's
I would
fair.
say
Yeah.
like probably I will say one thing though, that I have picked up from some modern pop music. Like, let's just take a super popular person like Sabrina Carpenter or something. Like
She's super
her,
popular.
like yeah, like her. She's
That
got a few like really really big songs out right now.
that shows how in tune I am because I've never even heard the name.
Yeah, it's fine. But like, and like even like Billie Eilish and stuff like that's someone I've been a fan of for a while, who's like more in the pop sphere. Um, but like some of these artists have like really good bands now, and I'm
Yeah,
like I'll listen to the music and be like, wow, it's actually like a really solid bass line, or like
yeah, yeah,
or like the song arrangement. I'll be like, wow, that's really cool how they just like threw in some like synth there or something, or there's. I feel I was saying this to my wife the other day. Like um, I feel like a lot of I feel like pop music is almost going back to like how it was almost during like the '90s, with like TLC and stuff, and
yeah.
like more like you could hear like actual music. It's not
Right.
just like this like really. It's not just like this weird like garbage that is being produced. Like there's actual like musical like instrumental value to it.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, that's I don't know if I just answered your question or not, but that
Well, yeah, you did. I mean, if it didn't have a direct influence, that's fine. That's a fair answer. But I like your point though that it's from an artist perspective. You can find highlights within the genre that's not really something you generally listen to, but you can find things that you like from it, and find value in it. That's I think that's part of being an artist. Like you may not like everything you see or hear, but you can still sense the artistry in it.
yeah, and yeah, that's just I think that's also just part of how I've learned to like evaluate music. Like if I hear a pop song, I'm not going to be like, oh, how does this compare to like Led Zeppelin? Like that's
Right, right,
like it's like you almost have to just take it in its own box and be like, how is this as a pop song? And like,
right,
yeah,
right.
I don't like every pop song that I hear for sure, but like there's some stuff that I hear where I'm like, oh wow, like as a pop song unit, I'm like this song like works. Like it's cool. Like the melody's good, the instrumentation is good. Even down to like the production. Like, I feel like pop production has definitely like gotten more like I guess less like sterile to a certain point.
Yeah,
But but it's and I think that's just been helpful. Like I was saying before, it just makes you less like hard towards like other genres because you can evaluate the genre like for itself without having to compare it to like all of music history.
yeah, and I think that's a really important thing to remember for your own art as well. For all of us, like let it stand on its own feet. Judge it, critique it for what it is, for your art. Because you don't have to compare. You don't have to compare Billie Eilish to Led Zeppelin. There's that's silly. Like for what it is, and find the value within that it's bringing itself.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Dave Grohl said one time. Like there shouldn't be a guilty pleasure in music. There should just be pleasure.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that's like that mindset is great because it allows you the freedom to like listen to what you want and not be like, oh, I like oh, I can't listen to this because I'm like I might listen to some punk music later. So like I don't want to feel like not hardcore because I'm like
right,
listening to pop music right now.
right.
Like it's just just putting yourself in that box of like, oh, I need to maintain this like aesthetic that I've created for myself or like this image. I'm like I feel like that's just really I feel like that can like weigh people down a lot where it's like, oh, I have to, you know, I have to fit in this mold at all times. Like it
Yeah,
just
I know what you mean. My own personal example for that, and I've used the term guilty pleasure, like you said, kind of jokingly, but it's just pleasure. But uh, in the '90s, early 2000s, I still was like really into a lot of the post grunge and alternative. But my little what I called my guilty pleasure was Third Eye Blind. I just love that band. Like and they're real.
Oh yeah,
They were more poppy, but it's just good stuff, you know. And I liked it, so
yeah.
I
Like
listened to it.
yeah. Like at the time, I mean, like there was some killer stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, uh, but yeah, that's yeah, and I just feel like that's like subjectively, just for my opinion, like I just feel like that's the best way to like approach music. It's just with like a soft like attitude, and
yeah,
just being like, you know what, I like this and I don't need to apologize for it. Like
yeah. You don't need to apologize for it. You don't need to compare it to anything. You don't need to make sure if it fits in your category, that you affiliate yourself with. It's, if you like it, just enjoy it.
yeah. Um, but yeah, that's can't really think of. I don't think there was anything else that I was going to bring up specifically, unless you had something. But
No, I'm good, man. We've been going for an hour and a half, and it didn't even seem like it.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we really barely touched on so much. But
Well,
no, yeah, this has been awesome though.
no, if you want to, we'll do it again, and we'll just talk about other things, or we'll talk more about gear. I don't care. Like, I love just allowing the natural course of conversation to happen, with the show. So, and to be honest with you, like, I've had a couple people ask about a more of a gear oriented episode, and I've been curious about doing it myself. So I'm happy that we kind of went down that trail a little bit. That was fun, and we'll have to do it again. And love to have you back on. Especially when you get more of your album underway, or maybe when you release it. Come back and have some more to share like that. That'd be really cool, man. If you're down.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I just love talking about music, and as you could see from the
Yeah.
last hour and a half. But no, yeah, I always enjoy like doing stuff like that. Even honestly, you could have me on and just talk about pedals for 2 hours. Like I could talk about that stuff for forever.
Okay, listeners, leave it in the comments if you want Brandon to come back and do a guitar pedal episode. We'll make that happen, because this was just a teaser. We just scratched the surface.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I barely even touched guitar pedals in like that.
No, it's all good, man. Definitely look forward to having you back on at some point, man. I appreciate you, and I know we don't talk all the time, but you're definitely one of those good connections and guys I really appreciate, and I'm really glad I made your acquaintance and become friends with you online. So very happy and for you to be on, and grateful for your time. I know we had to reschedule a few times, but I'm happy that we got it lined out. So thank you so much for being on today, man, for real.
No, yeah, thanks for having me. And anyone listening, if you want to just like randomly reach out on Instagram at Beluga Brando, I'll be available.
Yeah, yeah, do that. You guys can talk to him about music theory or not music theory, or guitar pedals or pop music, whatever. You've heard him here run the gamut of all those topics. So it's all game.
All right, cool, man. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up, and I'll catch you later.
Yep, yep. I know we both have some things to do today, and this was a good spot, a good time for us to do this, and a great episode, dude. So thanks a lot, man. I love you, brother, and I hope you have a great weekend. And I'll be talking to you soon. All right.
No, yeah, definitely. Catch you later.
All right. Bye.